Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Saturday's off the cuff live stream. Sli-Fi, good to see you. Hopefully, you can hear me. I'm trying a new mic. Let's see how this thing works. I don't even know if that worked because I'm not listening to myself. But anyway, so we're doing something different. I have this source that I've gone over some of the stuff before, but it basically shows you the inconsistencies and the contradictions in different stories as to why we find different versions of the same story throughout the Quran, which would make no sense. So I figured I would just take some time and do a video, maybe an hour or so before my 6 o'clock. So hopefully we'll have some people here. I also have a room open up on Clubhouse, so people can come here. So we'll see how it goes. Let me put the link in the chat. If somebody wants to join, I think right now I only see one person. Here we go. I'm going to wait a few minutes to see what happens. And before I get started, okay, we got two people. That's good. That's good. Hell, if Muslims want to come up, that's great. Okay, I think that you should be able to see that, I think. All right, so I'm going to hang out for a few more minutes. So Sly, if you want to come up live, have a little chit chat with Dr. Kufa, you're more than welcome. Like I said, I've got besides me, I can have five more people up on the stage or the panel or whatever the hell you want to call it, and hopefully my dog will not interfere. All right, come on, Sam. You said you'd be here in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna get started. It's been almost 4 minutes. All right, let me bring back the screen. Okay. Now I found this source. You can find it on Wiki Islam. I actually found some of these by going through Brother Osama's Quran translation, which he does have all the different chapters and verses that have all these repetitive stories, right? Now it says contradictions. I don't necessarily uh, think they're contradictions. Some of them could be contradictions. Um, it depends on your definition of a contradiction. But one of the things that if you've read the Quran is that you'll notice that it repeats the stories over and over and over. Hey, Paul, if you want to come up, I put the link in the chat. I also sent the link on Skype. Yeshua the King, if you want to come up. So one of the problems that I've noticed that in the Quran is that you find a lot of repetition as far as the stories, and the stories, unfortunately, get embellished. Hey Sam, and what do I mean by embellish is like you might read in one chapter and it'll say one thing, then you read in another chapter and it'll say something slightly different. Maybe it might add to it, it might subtract to it, it might change the wordings, which to me is problematic. Is why would you change the story? Or sometimes the speech of the individual gets reversed. Like if I say in one chapter A and B, but in another chapter they have me saying uh, B B and A, I find that to be a problem. I hope you're shopping for that brand new laptop. Join whenever you can. There's no rush. Like I said, I'll probably be here for about an hour or so. Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I was a little bit distracted. I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
So, so this is what I'm hoping to show, and if people can start thinking, um, that's great because I find that Muslims lack the critical thinking skills for some strange reason. They don't. Um, Either they don't see the same thing that I'm seeing, or they just refuse to see it. So I don't know which one. I don't want to jump the gun and say they're lying, but it just does not make sense that if I can see these problems, then why can't the Muslims who are reading it? Now, the only excuse that I could see a Muslim having is saying that I'm not reading it in Arabic. But homie, don't buy that, okay? Because the translations are translated by other Muslims, scholars with PhDs in the Arabic language. And if they can't get it right, who's to say that the average Muslim, which by the way, about 80% of Muslims don't understand Arabic. I probably understand more Arabic than they do it in the sense that I know how Arabic is put together. I can parse Arabic verses. Yes, let's all pray. Send some prayers to Brother Paul. His father passed away, so him and his family could use some prayers. His dad is in a better place, much better place than you and I are in. So let's say some prayers for his family because it's kind of tough when you know I've lost both my mother and my dad, and just last year I lost my older brother. And then back in '93, I lost my nephew, which really did a number on me emotionally. I just couldn't deal with that. So, yes, prayers are always good. So, let's get this started. Okay, again, I do not take credit for this. When I've read the Quran, I've missed all of the stuff here. I know Brother Usama has painstakingly also done this, but he didn't put it in this format. So, you do have to go and read the different chapters. But whoever put this together was nice enough so that I don't have to do it. So these were done by scholars. Notice it says here, okay, so in this one it says the forgiveness of Adam. And then it goes on and it says, academic scholars have noticed that the author or editor of the Quran appears to have combined verses 236 through 39, the stories of Adam, and 722, 725, chapter 20, 121, 24. And apparently, Adam gets kicked out of heaven twice. Now, how does that happen? Well, we don't know, but let's see if that's true. Okay, so here's 26, 7, and 22. Okay, and I believe this is what they're talking about. All right, so you can see in verse 20, verse 36, it says, "But Satan caused them to slip out of it and remove them from that condition," which I don't know what that is, in which they had been. And we said, so this is Allah telling Adam, go down, all of you, as the enemies to one another, and you will have upon the earth a place of settlement and provision for a time. Okay. But we go to 38, and what does Allah say? We said, go down from it, all of you. Well, didn't Adam go down? Did he disobey Allah and not go down? So Allah had to remind him again. Welcome to the live stream. So these are the problems that you can point out. And there's many other issues, but this one is kind of pretty funny that Allah said get down. Now there's also where when I don't think they have it here because it's not relevant. But if you're familiar when Allah, creates Adam and he tells the angels to prostrate or worship Adam, uh, Iblis or Satan or Shaitan, he refuses. So Allah throws him out of heaven. Right? Now this is before Adam and Eve, committed the sin of eating from the tree. So my questions to Muslims would be, if Satan had already been cast down upon the earth, how was he able to then tempt Eve to eat of the tree? Did he kind of like sneak back into Allah's heaven? I mean, I don't know. You know what? Let me.
Oh, well, wait, I'm sorry. Can you go over that real quick again? I just caught the point. That was interesting.
You remember there's several different variations. When Allah is creating Adam, he commands the angels to prostrate. Now in Osama's version it says to worship. Okay, worship, prostrate, meeny miny mo. So he gets kicked out. He gets kicked out of heaven. But supposedly we know that he goes and he tempts Eve. Well, actually, I think in the Quran, he tempts Adam. So they get tempted by Satan, but he's already been kicked out of heaven. So how does that happen? Did he sneak back in? Now I was.
Oh wow, yeah, that's interesting.
Now, I don't know if Osama was kidding, but I think he said that there's a source that one of the explanations that Muslims give for that is that he made it back to the door, because apparently there's doors. You got to enter through a door to get to heaven. So he didn't make it through the door. He just opened the door and he whispered to Eve or Adam, hey, eat of that tree. Now, how much sense does that make?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when they have, even though they have, just because somebody gives a response doesn't mean it's a sufficient answer. So, yeah, they're trying their best.
And here you can see that in verse 36, Allah tells Adam to go down, go down to the earth. But then in verse 38, he says exactly the same thing. Now, it's not the same thing as far as after he says, go down from it. Okay. So there is a little variation, but he is commanding them to go down when he's already given the command to go down. So that would tell me that they didn't obey his first command. Now, isn't he God? Now, there's also something funny about when Iblis doesn't prostrate, because apparently he becomes of the disbelievers. So how do you how does he become of the disbelievers unless they were already disbelievers in Allah before, right? You can't be part of a group. You can't be part of a group if they're supposedly they don't exist. And if Adam was the first human, Okay. So who were these other disbelievers? Now, I think Muslims will tell you that it was some of the jinn. Apparently, the jinn were also living on earth or something. So, Iblis wasn't the first who disbelieved or disobeyed, Allah's command. Now, apparently, you know, there were others, and you know, so when Iblis didn't do what Allah said, which again makes no sense because we clearly know that Iblis was a jinn, and the command was to the angels. That's like you being in a room full of women, and the instructor says, I want all the women to get up and leave the room, and you don't get up. And then the teacher gets mad at you because you didn't get up and leave the room, but you're a man. Hey, can you guys hear me? Because I'm having internet
Right.
problems.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, hopefully I'll be able to move. I don't know why. I'm also on my old computer. So that's one of the things that was weird. That Allah tells the guy to go down twice. Okay, this
Right,
one
and
says.
so with the unbelievers, it says that you're saying one of the excuses they'll probably give, and in the text itself, it's not just saying he became an unbeliever. It's saying he's like amongst others who are
Right,
unbelievers.
because he
Right.
says
Okay.
because it says he became of the disbelievers, something like that.
Right.
I'm paraphrasing. So in order for you to become of the disbelievers, that means there have to have other disbelievers for you to join.
Right, and they'll try to say like, oh, well, maybe that was some jinn
Right,
or some other. Okay.
but we don't know because Allah's not very forthcoming. Okay, so
Right.
this
That's
one here, it says, okay, the two passages telling the story of Noah disagree as to when he was given the instructions about who and what to save in the ship. Okay, so in chapter 11, verse 40, he receives the instructions when the flood is commanded. Okay, and then in chapter 23, he receives the instructions after he's been instructed to build the ark. So as we can see, this is chapter 11, 37. Now he's told to construct up here. And then we find way down here where Allah says, so it was until when our command came and the oven, I don't know what the oven is, and the oven overflowed, we said, load upon the ship of each creature. Now notice creature is not in the Arabic. 2 mates and your family, except those about whom the word has proceeded, and include whoever has believed. But none had believed with him except a few. Okay, so apparently there was other people in the ark besides Noah and his family. We don't know who they are, but they were there. But if we go to chapter 23, verse 27, it says, so we inspired him to construct the ship under our observation and our inspiration. And when our command comes and the oven overflows, put into the ship each creature, 2 mates, and your family, except those whom the decree of destruction has proceeded. So, how do you get different variations of the same story? Is my problem that I have with Muslims.
right, because it excluded the disbelievers.
Yeah. Also, in the Quran, in chapter 26,
Or the believers, not disbelievers.
in chapter 26, a funny thing happens. When Allah floods the earth, right? He not only drowns the unbelievers, but he also drowns believers with them. Now, you're probably asking me, well, how's that possible? Well, I don't know. We're going to have to ask Allah. But if you read chapter 26, the chapter of the poets, and you read verse 119, somebody says, so we delivered him, that's Noah, and those who were with him in the loaded ship. Okay. Verse 120. Then we drowned the rest after that. Okay. Verse 121. Surely this is a sign, a sign. And most of them were not believers. Now, because Allah used the word most, it implies that some of the people that drowned or that he drowned happened to be believers. You find that to
Yeah,
be
that's true.
a,
Yeah,
don't you find that to be a problem? I mean,
yeah,
but let's
yeah.
go
Why are
on
you drowning the believers? That's
because this
pretty
is
weird.
actually I guess maybe he made a mistake. Hey, Leah, Eric, welcome to
Well,
the.
I'm glad that I'm from the unbelievers so that I don't drown.
I know. All right, so we see here. So we see here the stories just don't line up. And Muslims will tell you, no, 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 it doesn't mean anything. So let's see, Abraham and the idols. What does this one have? Okay, so supposedly, what does it say here? Supposedly, this is the people that are talking to Abraham. Okay, so here, this is supposed to correspond to here. So then they said, then bring him before the eyes of the people that they may testify. But here it says they turned away from him departing. And then he turns to the gods. Uh, then the people came towards him, hastening. So it's like, and you'll notice that in some chapters the story is shorter than some other chapters. It's like somebody embellished. Okay, Abraham and the angels. Okay, so apparently what this one's trying to say is, when exactly did Abraham um, fear the angels? Okay, so and certainly did not our this is chapter 11, and certainly did our messengers come to Abraham with good tidings. They said peace. He said peace, and did not delay in bringing them a roasted calf. But when he saw their hands not reaching for it, he distrusted them and felt from them apprehension. And then, of course, they said, don't fear us. Now, if we go to this one here in chapter 15, what do we see here? And it says, and inform them about the guests of Abraham. Notice this one says messengers. This one here says guests. Okay, Dr. Kufafobi, you're being nitpicky. That's just me. But now, if we read 1552 and compare it to 1170, let's see if he gets fearful after they don't accept his plate of roasted calf. When they entered upon him and said, peace, Abraham said, indeed, we are fearful of you. Now, did you see any beef, any roasted calf in here? No. But, hey, we go to chapter 51, and what do we see? We see that the messengers or the guests came. Again, this one says guests, this one says messengers. But here we find that again. Then he went to his family and came with a fat roasted calf and placed it near them. He said, will you not eat? And he felt from them apprehension. I find it to be strange that this story, he's he's kind of afraid because they didn't accept his offering. This one here, he's afraid before he gives them the beef. Where's the beef? And then we're back to where it's after he gives them, the platter with a roasted calf. And then let's see. So this is about his wife. And his wife was standing and she smiled. So apparently his wife is standing next to him. We gave her good the good tidings of Isaac, and after Isaac and Jacob. Now
I
here's
don't
another problem.
I don't like how it missed the point that in the Bible she laughed, which is why his name is Isaac, because it means
Right.
laughter. And
Right.
here she smiled. So let me go look up what that word means.
But here's another problem. Where's Ishmael? But then again, he is talking to. We don't know his wife. Which wife? Because you know, Allah never says that he gave Ishmael to Abraham. I don't know why. Very peculiar. Now I have the room open on Club Deck. I'm surprised the Muslims aren't swarming over here to try to make fun of me. But if we go to chapter 51, what does it say? And his wife approached with a cry and struck her face and said, of course, it doesn't say, I am barren, but let's just go with I am barren. So here, she's not next to Abraham. She approaches. But here, she's already with Abraham. She's standing. And she smiled. Maybe, they didn't want to say laughed. So
I think
are you
laughing
guys,
is haram.
huh?
I think
Yeah.
laughing is haram.
Yeah. So do you guys see what I'm trying to point out here? Because apparently the Muslims don't see it and they don't think that there's anything wrong. Now remember, this is the perfect book from Allah. This is Allah's speech. Well, technically it's Allah's speech, but he's speaking what other people spoke. So it's not really Allah's speech. He's just narrating what somebody else said. So it's really the speech of other people in Allah's Quran. I guess my mic is working good today. All right, so notice the stories get different here. Now this one here kind of corresponds to this one. This one here is a little bit different. It's got a little twist. And when the fright had left Abraham and the good tidings had reached him, he began to argue with us concerning the people of Lot. So was Abraham arguing with the messengers? But in 1557, Abraham said, Then what is your business here, O messengers? They said, Indeed, we have been sent to a people of criminals. 51, I'm assuming that the person who wrote 1557 is also the person who wrote 1531 and I'm sorry, 51, chapter 51, 31, 32. But somebody else wrote chapter 11, verse 74. Because the stories don't jive. Lot and the angels. Okay. Yeah, now this is a big one. Okay, so we noticed chapter 11, verse 78, and his people came hastening to him. And before this, they had been doing evil deeds. And we got to go all the way here. And the people of the city came rejoicing. Nothing really to do with that one. And in 1571, here Lot says, These are my daughters. But if we go over here, he kind of tells them, he tells them right here. And let's see what they say is the problem here. After the business with Abraham and his wife, the angels visit Lot and his family to save them from the destruction coming to the people there. All right. Okay. So Lot is saying, Indeed, these are my guests. So after he says, These are my guests, and then we go down here, that's when he's talking about my daughters. But he talked about his daughters before he said anything about the angels. See how the stories change? You get more details. Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be one of their reconciliations? Is, oh yeah, they're the same story, but one's just given more detail.
That's what you know, Coach, on Clubhouse, right? The Muslima.
Oh man, oh yeah.
Yeah, we had a little discussion, and Sam and I showed her, I showed Sam my interaction with her, and I was trying to point out uh, the problem between chapter 3, verse 40, and chapter 19, verse 8. And I asked her, why did Allah reverse Zechariah's speech? And she just did a little Muslima shuffle. Never answered the question. I'll probably show that. So this is basically saying that in Surah 15, the angels tell Lot when they first arrive that they are to save him and his family. But if you read the sequence of events, which is another thing, the sequence of events tend to be reversed, as you can see here. Here we don't see Lot saying anything about his daughters until down the line, but here he's telling the people about his daughters way up here. I'll try to find these sources and put them in the description once I end the stream. All right, so this tells you all the different things. So here it's saying one of the problems is that Lot addresses them as people unknown. Okay, let me see if that's true. Well, wouldn't he know who these people are? Yeah, here we go. He said, "Indeed, you are people unknown." But I guess he's referring to the messengers. But he doesn't say that here. Because notice it says, "And when the messengers came to the family of Lot," now here they throw in the angels, but it basically says, "And when our messengers," now it's our messengers, here it is just when the messengers. So we don't know. But this one, we can ascertain that it's talking about Allah's messengers. Came to Lot, he was anguished for them and felt for them a great discomfort and said, "This is a trying day." That's not what it says here. You see what I'm saying? Am I being a nitpicky, or is any of this making any sense?
Well, here's the thing, right? Because if it's just one nitpicky thing, then it might slide. But
Right.
since it's so much, it forms a pattern, and that's the problem, I guess. When you say Muslims don't understand what you're talking about, is because as soon as you show them one single thing that might be wrong, they stop at that one, and they will just dissect and try to save face for hours upon this one verse. They will never see, like, there's a saying, like, you cannot see the forest because all of the trees. I think this is what's going on here.
Yeah, and also I would say, especially when it comes to the nitpicky thing, even I wouldn't say it's nitpicky because of the claim that's made. So, and that's the inconsistency of the Muslims, is they don't realize Christians don't make the same claims. And so, like, hypothetically, from what I understand, even if the story of Judas actually was contradictory to the point of being able to be reconciled, it wouldn't even cause a problem because of our perspective of the scriptures or our claims about the scriptures. Whereas for them, it's like, no, every single word perfectly preserved. And so the littlest thing, if if God is saying the littlest mistake, it doesn't matter. It nullifies the whole Quran.
Yeah, because you've got to understand that the Bible, we know that it's men that are
Right.
writing, right? And it comes from different sources. But the Quran is supposed to be strictly from Allah. Okay, now this one was one that I did before. So apparently, this is Lot when he's speaking. It says here, okay, response from Lot's people. The two passages make exclusive statements about the response of Lot's people to his arguments before the visit of the angels. Both verses come across as sweeping statements on the response of Lot's people to his pleading, perhaps reflective of Muhammad's own experiences, except that each use categorically exclusive language. The answer of his people was not, but they said. Okay. Now, here's the first problem that I see. In chapter 27, verse 54, and mention Lot when he said to his people, do you commit immorality while you are seeing? That is a question, right? So he's asking a question. Now, when we come to chapter 29, verse 28, notice it says, and mention Lot when he said to his people. Exact same thing. Nothing changed. Except now he's not asking a question, he's making a statement. Indeed, you commit such immorality as no one has preceded you from among the worlds. Now, is that the same as 2754?
Is there any way you could pull up the Arabic for 2754? The
I
only thing,
can.
or yeah, or I
Hold on
could.
a second. 2754. I'm gonna have to switch
Because I know
screens.
that sometimes
I can
if
do
you're asking a question and in Arabic, there's what would you call it, a preposition that you use in order to note that you're making saying a question.
Okay. All right. Let me share the screen. Go over here. I share. Okay, I'm gonna have to wait so I can see. Okay, so I'm gonna have to blow it up. Nope, that's the wrong place. I'm over here. All right, let me blow this bad boy up too.
Okay.
Okay. So here's the Arabic. Here's the the transliteration. Okay, and loot wa, and I know wa is and loot. When he said to his people, "Do you commit immorality while you see?" Is the
Okay.
Arabic asking a question? Because "do you commit" is definitely a question. You can't get around it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. This is
Okay. Now, in the same thing,
Luta,
what was the other one? Uh,
Kala,
the
Nikao.
29, 29, 29. So let's see what 29, 29 says. So we go from we clearly see that 2754 is a question. That is 2929. Am I in the right one? 2929. Did I put the right one? 2929. Okay, here we go. Now 29 is a statement. Indeed. So now he's not asking them a question. He is telling them, indeed, you approach the men and you cut off and you cut off the road and commit in your meetings evil. Now you could say it would make kind of some sense. Let me switch back my screen. Stop the screen. Share the screen.
What is the what's the verse number again? For 27.
54.
Okay.
Now, if we go to 2755, we have the same problem. Do you indeed approach men with desire instead of women? But 2929 says, indeed, again, he's not asking them, he is telling them, indeed, you approach men and obstruct the road and commit in your meetings evil. So then here's the response that Allah says that the people responded back to but in chapter 29 he's not asking them any questions. But anyway, it says, and the answer of his people was not, but they said, bring us the punishment of Allah if you should be of the truthful. Notice no question has been asked, but they answered. Don't know why. Now, questions are asked in chapter 27, and their answer is, but the answer of his people was not except that they said, expel the family of Lot from your city. Indeed, they are people who keep themselves pure. Not the same response. How can this story have two different responses? Can anybody explain that to me? Because I'm lost. I find this to be a problem. Muslims don't find it to be a problem. They'll tell me, oh,
Okay.
it's Arabic. You don't know Arabic. I find that to be a poor argument. I no longer buy the you don't know Arabic. That's okay. 80% of you guys don't know Arabic. So what's your excuse? Let's continue. I'm not going to do the whole 49.
So that one you were comparing 29, and 27 and 56 with the two different responses?
Yeah, you got two different responses, but the problem is chapter 29, 29, 28, and 29, 29, Lot's not asking them any questions. So there's really no need for them to, he's not asking them a question. He's declaring what they've done.
Right.
So there's really no need to say, and the answer of his people was not, but they said.
Right.
So now, if it would have said, but his people said, bring us the punishment of Allah if you should be truthful, I would be okay, because that's not answering a question. That's just they're telling them, hey, okay, we know, we done this, so what's your punishment? But over here, where it clearly you can see that it's questions. Do you commit immorality? Do you indeed approach men with the desire instead of women? So this would be correct to say, but the answer of the people was not except that they said, expel the family of Lot. So why do we have two different stories? How many stories do we have? How many times did Lot speak to the people? Did he have more than one speech? I don't know. Well, repent. I think the problem is that these chapters were not put together by the same people. And somebody forgot to check what they had said earlier. Because remember, these are not in chronological order. So we really don't know when chapter 27 was revealed versus chapter 29. Yes, we do. Let me pull up my little cheat sheet. Let me go to Google Sheets. All right, come on. All right, where I have my massive file here. Okay, chronological order of Quran. Okay, so one's chapter 27, right? So chapter 27 and Allah's revelation is really chapter 48. And chapter 29 is chapter 85. So what do you have there? 37 chapters apart? Could that be why they couldn't remember what they wrote before? I could be. You see, and I always address the Quran like I'm in a courtroom and we're two lawyers. Allah has his lawyer, and I have, and I'm, I'm the lawyer who's going against.
Allah has like 2 billion
Yeah.
lawyers.
Now let's look at this. This is Moses when Moses meets Allah in the fire. So we have version 1, chapter 20. We have version 2, chapter 27. And we have version 3, chapter 28. Okay. Now, here in chapter 20, we started chapter 10, or I'm sorry, verse 10, and it says, when he saw a fire and said to his family, stay here. Indeed, I have perceived a fire. Perhaps I can bring you a torch or find at the fire some guidance. Okay, cool. All right. Now we go to the same story in chapter 27, and it says, mention when Moses said to his family, indeed. Now notice this pretty much matches this. Okay, you see indeed I have perceived a fire. Indeed I have perceived a fire. But now Moses says, I will bring you from there information or bring you a burning torch that you may warm yourself. I will, that's in the positive. Perhaps, he's not sure. You see what I'm trying to say? Now, which one did he say?
That definitely sounds like a
Which one did he say to his family? Perhaps I can bring you, or I will bring you. Now we go to chapter 28. Again, we see, perhaps I have perceived the fire. Everything's still the same. Now we're back to, perhaps I will bring you. Here it's perhaps I can. Here it's perhaps I will. I will bring you from there some information. Okay, we have information here. We got information here. Or burning wood for the fire that you may warm yourselves. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting the impression that Moses didn't know how to start a fire. Are you getting the same impression? Hey, Andrew, because I'm reading that and I'm saying, man, Moses didn't know how to start a fire? Maybe he should have gone to the Boy Scouts. So clearly you see there's a big difference between when I say perhaps I can versus I will bring you. One is in the affirmative, the other one is in the wishy-wishy. Same thing here, but now it changes. Perhaps I can bring you, perhaps I will. Again, let me see what mood I'm in. This one is what mood, it depends on the mood that I'm in. This one is, if I have the capability, I will bring you something. Okay, then we go over here. And what do we see? I forgot to highlight this. Make this yellow. Okay, so chapter 20, we see, oh Moses, indeed I am your Lord. Okay. Now, of course, he goes and says, remove your sandals, blah, 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 blah. But in 27:9, okay, he says, oh Moses, indeed, it is I, Allah. Big difference. Chapter 28, we go back to, oh Moses, indeed, I am Allah. Indeed, I am Allah. Now, it doesn't say your Lords. It says, I am your Lord. This one says, indeed, I am Allah. Now, clearly, Lord cannot be. Now, I know Muslims will say Lord and Allah is the same thing, but I understand. But which one did Moses say? Or which one did Allah say to Moses? Did he say, "Indeed, I am your Lord"? Or did he say, "Indeed, it is I, Allah"? Or did he say, "Indeed, I am Allah"? Wouldn't that be a problem? I mean, it would be for anybody with, some common sense and some critical thought. And this is why I started the whole dissecting the Quran, is to show these inconsistencies. These just pointed out side by side, where if you read the Quran, you won't be able to do that.
Right.
Chewie,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. These are definitely, I would say, they're problematic again because of the claim that's made, and even the verse that says if this was a book other than from Allah, then it would have in it many contradictions. The word doesn't even necessitate contradictions. It actually
Right.
means differences. So that's what you're showing right now. You're showing, even though these statements aren't contradictory, well,
Right.
they are, because like if you're quoting someone, then yeah, it's a contradiction. But the meaning obviously is not necessarily contradictory, but
Right.
you're still finding differences in the stories.
Now remember, this is about Moses seeing Allah in the burning bush or the burning tree. So unless a Muslim is going to tell me that Moses spoke to Allah in the burning tree 3 different times, okay, then you got a problem, because which one did Allah say?
Right.
Now, you know how Muslims will go, well, how come in this book it says the king was, I don't know, 20 years old? But then how come in that book it says he was 42 and he became a king? But they don't understand. You're talking about two different uh, two different books from two different authors, which could be at two different time periods.
Right.
But here we're
Yeah.
talking about Allah telling us about Moses meeting him in the burning bush. And I've got 3 different stories where Allah says 3 different variations of the same thing. Which one did he say? Moses expresses his fears and asks Allah about Aaron. See, we could say that these are also contradictions, or we could just say, okay, which one did he say? And this one didn't get highlighted. So I think basically, I think it's this one here. He's asking Allah to send Aaron along with him.
Hey, I'm sorry, I gotta get going, but
Okay.
I'm gonna watch the rest of this later. I appreciate you making the videos, and thanks for having me on.
All right. No problem. Anytime I have a show, whether it's this one or dissecting the Quran, just let me know. I'll give you a link. You can join us. We have fun.
Awesome, thanks, man. God
All
bless
right.
everybody.
Enjoy the rest
Stay
of your
away
day.
from
Be
Islam.
blessed. Yeah, Andrew, Mo diversifying the verses of the book. But I thought this was Allah's book. All right, so let's go back here. What was I trying to do? Okay, yeah, I was trying to go here. He said, "My Lord." Here and highlight this. Okay. So basically, this will go over here. I want to highlight that also. Okay, so basically, what we see here, this is Moses talking to Allah, and he said, so this is Allah speaking, telling us what Moses said. He said, "My Lord, indeed, I fear that they will deny me, and that my breast will tighten, and my tongue will not be fluent. So send for Aaron. And they have upon me a claim due to sin, so I fear that they will kill me." Now, this is towards the end, blah, blah, blah. But in here, Moses says, "My Lord, indeed, I killed from among them someone, and I fear they will kill me. And my brother Aaron is more fluent than me in tongue. So send him with me as support, verifying me. Indeed, I fear that they will deny me. So here, he says, I fear they will deny me after he asks Allah, to grant him Aaron as a helper. But here, he says, I fear that they will deny me before he even asks Allah to let him have Aaron. Uh, and then it explains why, he fears them because, you know, he killed somebody. I think there was something else here. How should Moses describe Allah to Pharaoh? Okay, so this is another interesting one. This is chapter 20, 47 to 49, chapter 26, 16 to 23. What do we find here? Okay, so go to him. Okay, so now this is Allah speaking. So Allah says, so go to him and say, indeed, we are messengers of your Lord. But in chapter 26, what do we find Allah saying? Allah tells Moses, go to Pharaoh. Now, here, he's specific. Go to Pharaoh. Who does he say here? Go to him. I don't know who's him. I know who this guy is. I don't know who this guy is. But then Allah tells him, and say, we are the messengers of the Lord of the worlds. How come he didn't say that here? And then apparently, after all that chit chat, Pharaoh said, now granted, Pharaoh is not in this verse. So basically, the verse says, said, so who is the Lord of you two? Should be the two of you, but that's okay. Oh, Moses. But here, how does Pharaoh reply? He doesn't reply. So who is the Lord of the two, of you two? He said Pharaoh, and what is the Lord of the worlds? So again, Muslims, if you're watching, which I know you're not watching, which one did Allah say? Did Allah tell Moses to say, indeed, we are messengers of your Lord? Or did Allah tell Moses to say, we are the messengers of the Lord of the worlds? Did Pharaoh respond by saying, who is the Lord of you two? Or did Pharaoh respond by, and what is the Lord of the worlds? I don't know. That's a question Muslims should be asking. Now, what does it say? Pharaoh and the chiefs. Coming after Moses has impressed Pharaoh with the miracles of the serpent, with the white hand, both Surah 7:26, immediately then describe a discussion between Pharaoh and his chiefs. In Surah 7, Pharaoh asks his council, what do they instruct, advise? I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But in Surah 26, the question is not being asked by Pharaoh, but apparently it's being asked by the council. So let's see what he's talking about. So chapter 9, said the eminent among the people of Pharaoh, indeed, this is a learned magician. So these are the people, the other magicians from Pharaoh are saying this. But here, it's Pharaoh said to the eminent ones around him, indeed, this is a learned magician. Now they put Pharaoh, so we know who this person is saying, said to the eminent. So someone here is speaking to the eminent. Here, the eminent are speaking. Which is it? Allah? Did Pharaoh speak to the eminent, or did the eminent speak to the people? Sam, feel free to chime in. Hey,
Yeah,
original man.
I'm listening, man.
You're saying, original man, the topic is, why do we find all these inconsistencies, contradictions, people's speeches being reversed? Why do we have multiple stories that seem to not jive? You know, in one story, the person's asks a question. In another version, the person is making a statement. So that's what I'm trying to show to the Muslims if they ever see this. Okay. And it says here the whole dialogue is identical in Arabic except for the addition of by his magic uh, versus send instead of the cinnamon. The okay. This contradiction and the awkwardness of Surah 7 version has attracted the attention of numerous academic scholars. Joseph Witztum notes that Muslim exegetes, whatever, proposed that both Pharaoh and his chiefs ask the same question in the same way, despite it being portrayed at the same place in the same dialogue in both versions, which would be kind of weird. So Muslims are trying to, I guess, harmonize, but you know, it's wrong. Okay, who believed in Moses? I don't know. According to chapter 26, verse 47, they said, we have believed in the Lord of the worlds, the Lord of Moses and Aaron. According to 1083, but no one believes Moses except some youths among his people. And indeed, we inspired that our Lord will forgive us our sins because we were the first of the believers. I don't know who it's talking about. But Allah can't be consistent. Were Pharaoh's armies covered by or thrown into the sea? It's another good one. Okay, so chapter 10, it says, and we took the children of Israel across the sea, and Pharaoh and his soldiers pursued them in tyranny and enmity until when drowning overtook him. Now, I should say overtook them because it says Pharaoh and his soldiers. So, did only Pharaoh drown, or did Pharaoh and his soldiers drown? I don't know. That's a good question. But in 2840, what does it say? So we took him and his soldiers and threw them into the sea. So see how was the end of the wrongdoers? Well, I mean, I could be thrown into the sea, but that doesn't mean that I drowned. You know, maybe they were. But notice how it says, and we took him and his soldiers and we threw them. Doesn't make the mistake of saying, and we threw him. Like the mistake Allah makes here, where he's talking about pluralism and then he ends up only drowning one person. Am I, please ask me questions. Okay. But I will
Yeah.
tell you
Who
this.
is original? Who is original man?
Ah, apparently he's not Muslim. I think he's an atheist. Yeah, Mo is performing a play. So, do you agree, Sam, on this one? It should be them because it wasn't just Pharaoh that pursued; it was Pharaoh and his soldiers.
Judaism is truth, he says. All right, well.
Or maybe
Sorry.
you. I don't know. Okay, so
So,
we see there's the difference.
yeah.
Let me see. Let me highlight this. Let me make this bold. Okay, yeah, big difference. Did Allah drown? And who did Allah drown? Because it says him. All right. This is This is 1090. Let me see what the Islam Awakened says. 10. I need to learn the differences of what makes a word plural singular. But let's see, 1090, the story of Jonah. All right, let me see. And we took across the children of Israel the sea and followed them, Pharaoh and his hosts, in the rebellion and enmity until we overtook him, the drowning. Yep, same thing, but kind of reversed. So Osama, I'm sorry, this is not Osama. This is uh, from another source. Yeah, so apparently the drowning only overtook Pharaoh, but not his soldiers. Okay. Okay. Again, chapter 20, 2078. So Pharaoh pursued them with his soldiers, and there covered them from the sea, that which covered them. Makes no sense. But then we see over here in 5140, Allah says, so we took him and his soldiers and cast them into the sea, and he was blameworthy. So did the soldiers pursue Moses into the sea, or did Allah throw them into the sea? Which is kind of funny, but you know. There is a hadith related to this where Jibril claims to pack the mouth of Pharaoh with mud to prevent his shahada. Andrew, if you can find that hadith and post it in the comments when the show is over, that'd be greatly appreciated because I have not come across that one. Okay. So, I mean, we're pointing out all of these. No, I don't know 2663. Then we inspired to Moses, strike with your staff the sea, and it parted, and each portion was like a great towering mountain. And we advanced thereto the pursuers, and we saved Moses and those with him altogether. Then we drowned the others. Okay, this is even a different story or a different version. That's okay. But here we can clearly see that the soldiers and Pharaoh pursued them into the sea, but here Allah cast them into the sea. There's a big difference between pursuing and being cast into the sea. Moses berates Aaron about the golden calf. Okay, so here 7150 we see, and he threw down the tablets and seized his brother by the hair of his head, which is the forelock, pulling him toward him. Aaron said, "O son of my mother, indeed the people oppressed me and were about to kill me. So let not the enemies rejoice over me, and do not place me among the wrongdoing people." Well, what do we find in chapter 20? He says, Moses said, "Oh, Aaron, what prevented you when you saw them go astray from following me? Then have you disobeyed my order?" Aaron said, "Oh, son of my mother, do not seize me by my beard or by my head." Okay, well, that's a big difference. Here, Moses seized him. Here, Aaron is saying, "Please don't seize me by my beard or my head." Uh, doesn't say anything about a beard. It says, "Seize his brother by the hair on his head." See, different stories. Which one should I believe? Should I believe chapter 7 or should I believe chapter 20? I don't know. Not to mention that here Moses makes a mistake. There was no Sumerians in the time of Moses. Command to the children of Israel upon reaching a town. Okay, now this one is one that I talked to our friend Coach over on Clubhouse. She couldn't understand. Yes, Christians corrupted the Old Testament. Yes, you're sounding like a Muslim original man. Yes, we corrupted it. We went all around the globe and collected the Old Testament and we corrupted and wrote it again.
You know
Man.
what's crazy too? Even the like the culture or the phrases. Like if you look in the Old Testament, like narrative of when Moses was talking with Aaron, you don't see him say "son of my mother." It's
Yeah.
just kind of weird.
All right, let me see if I can find it. We will forgive your sins. Dwell in okay, and we will okay. Okay. And enter the gate bowing and say, relieve us of our burdens. Okay, so we got that. Let's make that bold.
I don't get it. Why is someone Jewish arguing with?
An atheist.
He says he's Jewish. No, I'm not even. That's
Oh,
weird. It's because we're discussing the Quran. Shouldn't he?
yeah. Okay, so here's a problem that I brought up to the Muslima over in on Clubhouse. Okay, again, somebody reversed what was said. So we have here, and recall when we said, so this is Allah, enter the city, and eat from it whatever you will, in ease and abundance, and enter the gate bowing humbly and say, relieve us of our burdens. But if we go to chapter 7, verse 161, and mention, O Muhammad, which is not there, and mention when it was said to them, dwell in this city and eat from it whatever you will, and say, relieve us of our burdens, and enter the gate bowing humbly. Now, would you say that that's reversed, Leah? I guess she didn't hear me. Not here. Yeah, original man, please. We don't care about rabbinic Judaism is the truth, admit it, whatever. Yeah, try to follow along. I'm trying to educate people on the problems with the Holy Quran. So, Leah, are you there?
I am. I just because with the baby, I missed what you said. What's in reverse?
Okay. If you look at chapter 2, verse 58, it goes, and enter the gate, bowing humbly, and say, relieve us of our burdens. But if we go to chapter 7, 161, it says, and say, relieve us of our burdens, and enter the gate, bowing humbly. Would that not be reversed?
It is, and when you look at every single time the Bible quotes something from the Old Testament, they quote it word for word, unless they're like paraphrasing something. But still, majority of the time, they when they do a quotation, it's word for word.
Yeah. Hey, Darcy, if Mr. Original Man keeps insisting on trying to distract, just put him on timeout. I'm not on YouTube, so I would have done it. He's just a distraction. Anybody burning anything? Now I worry about the buildings going on fire. All right, the destruction of Tammuz. Now I didn't exactly go this far. Okay. What was the problem here? We got chapters 20, 54, 27, 28. All right, I'm going to change to something that I have because it's got other stuff. We did it on one of the shows before. I don't know if you're there, Leia. Let me share the screen again. I like OBS. Quran,
Why do you get so many trolls lately?
I don't know, man. Oh, grandma. I'm telling you, I bet you these are Muslims. Copy and paste.
It's funny because that's the only thing they can retaliate to, insults.
Yeah.
It's barbaric. It's not
I mean, they clearly can't formulate a coherent intellectual argument, so they have to resort to that. But that's okay. It just exposes them. All right, let me blow this up a little bit more. Let's bring it up to 175. I'm just pointing out the problems in the Quran. Don't shoot me. I am the messenger of Allah.
you're just a messenger.
I'm just a
You're
messenger.
born.
Now remember, Leia, if you read the Quran, there's nothing there that says Muhammad was the last messenger. So I am free to claim that I am a messenger. Because it just says that Muhammad is a messenger of Allah and he is the ring, okay, or the seal of the prophets. Therefore, I could be a messenger. You could be a messenger. Sam could be a messenger. Okay. So in this
He's
one
just
here,
a seal of the
yeah.
prophets, but the thing with it is, what if there's another revelation? A seal of that
I mean, it
revelation.
could be. I don't know. Now we got new Asaf. Okay, so in here, I call this the rinse and repeat surah. What are the odds? Now, my statistics class, I'm going to be honest, never took one, but I have a friend of mine who's one of those guys that crunches numbers for the insurance agencies. What do they call them? An actuary. So he would know this better than I would. But what are the odds that every single one of these prophets in one chapter basically said the same thing? Notice the yellow is exactly the same thing, right? The different colors are the different variations. Here it says the people of Noah, right? And of course, when their brother Noah said to them, okay, here it's Ad. Now we don't know who Ad is. Is Ad a person or is Ad people? Now I know it's the people of Ad, but apparently they denied the messengers. Now why did they deny the messengers? Or why is it even saying messengers? Because the Quran says Allah only sends one messenger to to a group of people. But here we're reading uh, more than one messenger. So you got Noah, kind of pretty much saying the same thing. Then we go to Ad, same thing. The only difference is they changed the name. Okay, we got Hud. Let's make this guy. Let's make him red. So we got Hud. We got Noah. Now we got Thamud. Again, we don't know if this is a person or if this is, a group of people, a city. Same thing. The only thing that changed was the prophet's name. So Allah seems to only be changing the prophets' names. Okay. Ooh, I highlighted that. Didn't want to do that. Let me undo that. I want to change the color. Let's make them red. Okay. Same thing. Nothing changed. Will you not fear? Will you not fear? Surely I am a faithful messenger
By
to
the
you.
way, Paul is backstage.
Oh, okay. Welcome, brother Paul.
Hey,
Hi,
Paul.
glad to be here.
All right, you're coming in at the tail end.
That's what I say.
I think I've been up for an hour and 19 minutes. Okay, I thought it'd been 2 hours. So I don't know if you're watching, but I'm trying to show all the what I consider to be problems, and Muslims should also consider to be problems because
I was able to listen to the first hour
yeah.
entirely, and I just missed the
Okay,
last 20 minutes.
so my problem is, what did Allah say? Which one is the correct? Did he say A or did he say B? Maybe he said C. Why do we find different variations?
I like the part you're going through now where
yeah.
it's the copy paste or what did you call it?
It's a copy paste or rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. It just
Yeah.
it's the sad sorry truth. I mean, what does that say about the Quran if you copy paste or rinse and repeat? I mean, what does that say? And it says it's a very low quality writer. Uh, there's nothing kind about it.
Right. And you notice, okay, so basically Noah said the same thing, Hud said the same thing, Saleh said the same thing. Now we go to Lot. They said the same thing. Now we go to this guy, the dwellers of the woods, which we have no clue who they are. They said the same thing. So basically, all he did was a little bit variations in the beginning, right? These two here just don't mention the people of. This one says the people of. This one, Allah changed instead of the people. He said the dwellers. Okay, but other than that, as you can see it in the yellow, it says the same thing. But then this was my problem, because if it says they didn't, the dwellers of the woods, they denied the messengers. So that means they had multiple messengers, not just what do you call it? Not just how do you say that word, Paul? Shway?
Well, Osama was telling me Shaby or
Shaby.
Schwabe. I've heard him
Okay,
say
I
it, but
don't
now
see
I've
the
heard him say
Shaby,
it the
but
same way you've said it. So doesn't
but
make a
if you
difference.
read the Quran and you go to chapter 18, verse 36, Allah says, "Indeed, we have sent to every nation a messenger." It doesn't say and we've sent to every nation messengers. Muslims don't understand that. Again, I think it's lack of comprehension. Now here's another one that we went over when we did like the 30 minutes of the show. Okay, so this is, I call this the Quranic inconsistency. This is all dealing with Lot, right? So here we see in chapter 7, let me see, can you people see it? Yeah. So here we go in chapter 7. It says, so we delivered, so I guess this is Allah speaking. So Allah says, so we delivered him and his family, except his wife. She was of those who stayed behind. Okay, so Lot's family was delivered except his wife. Why? Because she stayed behind. Keep that in mind. Don't be like Mo and have a memory lapse. Now we go to chapter 11, the chapter of Hud. They said, now these are the angels that came to Lot. O Lot, surely we are messengers of your Lord. They will not reach to you. So depart with your family a part of the night, and no one of you turn around except your woman. Now, this one says woman, doesn't say wife. And it says, it doesn't say that she wasn't delivered because she stayed behind. She wasn't delivered because nobody was supposed to turn around except her. Makes no sense. Why? Why except her? Did somebody tell her turn around? We don't know. Yeah, we will find out. Then we go to chapter 26, the chapter of the poets. Now this one matches chapter 7 somewhat. So we delivered him and his whole family together. Now notice this one says his whole family. This one just says his family. Except an elder among those who tarried, which means, yeah, you were a little slow. So, you didn't pick up the pace, so you got left behind. So this one, it's because the reason that this particular individual was not saved or delivered was because they were slow. This one says his wife wasn't delivered because she stayed behind. Now, staying behind and being a little slow is not the same thing. But it gets even worse. In the chapter of the ants, we see. So we delivered him and his family, except his woman. We decreed her of the lingered. So that means Allah is the one who made her linger or tarry. She just walked slow. She was a slow walker. But here we see that Allah is the guilty culprit for his wife not being delivered. It wasn't that she didn't want to be delivered. Allah made sure she would not be delivered. Okay? We read in chapter 37, when we delivered him and all of his family. Notice there's minute, his whole family, all of his family, except an elder who tarried. Ladies and gentlemen, what's happening here? It's the same story. Why are we seeing so many variations? Is it his wife or was it an elder? Now, his wife could have been an elder because she was old, but how would you know? I mean, you wouldn't. If you're going to be honest, you wouldn't. And I never even paid attention to that myself. And I see we lost Leia. Must be we got to take care of the baby. But it gets even funnier. In chapter 26, we find out that Allah, okay, this is about Noah. So Allah says, so we delivered him, Noah, and those who were with him in the loaded ship. Now, we don't know who those are because apparently there were other people in the ark besides Noah, his wife, his son. Okay.
That was bizarre.
Where did that come from?
No idea.
He was he was
Backstage?
typing in the backstage. Yeah. If I think he
Weird, because
lost his
I don't
marbles.
see I don't see anybody in the backstage. Oh, that was Noof. Okay. Hey, we got some good ones. Hey, wasn't it yesterday we had someone that sounded like he was getting screwed by a goat?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
But
But I
look
missed that one.
like this is the problem. Look at what he was responding to. Bible has been changed and it got Haman wrong. Haman did not exist during Xerxes. He existed during Pharaoh. Persia never met Jews at all. Haman. Like, is this really what you should focus on when we think? Because we're going by what exactly the Quran tells us, right? We're not we're not comparing it to the Bible here.
Yeah, really. Is this the best that Allah has? I mean,
That's another story. I mean,
They
it
could
says
have
something if they don't know what the best of Allah is.
they could have engaged us in a dialogue. Okay, I mean, I'm civil until you don't.
Well,
You
you're
know,
civil, but that might be too intellectual
yeah.
for him.
I mean, you know.
Be
But
above his comprehension level.
before the goat screamed, I was trying to say that Allah, according to chapter 26, verses 19 through 121, we find out that Allah delivered him, meaning Noah, and those who were with him in the loaded ship. Now, what was in the loaded ship? We don't know. Probably a lot of shit. Well, clearly a lot of shit if he had all those animals. I mean, he did have to poop. Then we drowned the rest after that. So Allah delivered Noah and those who were in the loaded ship, and he drowned the rest of it. But verse 121 is very peculiar because then Allah says, surely, and this is a sign, and most, notice I got that in red, and most of them were not believers. So Allah drowned believers with the not believers because he didn't say, and all of them were not believers. He said, and most of them were not believers. So Muslims don't fully understand or grasp the concept of the meaning of sentences or words.
But still, it's it says something. I was willing to kill his own people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of Sharia too. I mean, as long as you're taking out one Jew or
I guess
one non-Muslim, you're allowed to kill.
I guess
Your
Allah
own
made a
fellow
mistake.
people.
All right, this one, let me blow it up a little bit because it's got Arabic in there. So I want to make sure people see it. Let's make this bad boy 200. I think is the most that I can do. Okay. All right, let me see how does it look. Okay. All right. So this is what I call Allah reversing the speech of one of his subjects. Okay, so here we have Zechariah. He's having doubts. He's old. His wife is barren, hasn't had a kid. But Allah's angels is telling him, hey, don't worry, bro. You're going to have a son. His name is going to be Yahya. And we've never used that name before. He's going to be the first Yahya, which is a lie because Yahya means John. And we know that there were other Johns. If you look in the Bible, there were Johns way before Islam. So in chapter 19, we see Zechariah says, my Lord, how will I have a boy when my wife has been barren and I have reached extreme old age? Okay, I got no problem with that. Now I read the same story in chapter 3, verse 40, which, by the way, the reason I have 19 here is because chronologically 19 is 44 chapters before chapter 3. So chapter 3 comes like way down the road. So in chapter 3, verse 40, Zechariah says, my Lord, how will I have a boy when I have reached old age and my wife is barren? Wife is barren. I'm old. I'm old. My wife is barren. Notice I've put the transliteration here. You see the one here? From here to here, exactly the same. From here to here, exactly the same. When we come over here, that's when we start seeing the differences. Not the same. Reversed. Here's the Arabic. The same. The same up to here. And this nice little word here is and. Not the same. Not only that, you can
I've
tell.
actually been wondering, contemplating if this is a remembrance tool to reverse the order of how you say something.
I mean, it could be. Also, notice you don't have to be a rocket science. Look at the length. Look at how many words are here versus here. Now,
Because how many times do you have a reverse story? Because there's a lot of those in there.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
So that's why I was beginning to wonder, because Quran is supposed to be recitation, and that's why I'm wondering if it's a tool for memory to increase the memory for something. This would reflect an attempt to remember, which would also reveal it's not really good at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, I just found out that I can put somebody on timeout from stream. So again, so I asked a Muslima yesterday why Allah reversed it, and Sam saw my interaction with her, and basically she ignored the fact that the verse actually has the guy's speech reversed. She used all sorts of mumble jumble as to why it was okay. It's the same meaning. Okay, it's not him speaking. It's being narrated. So all this crap is was an excuse. And again, I'm not hiding anything. So when Muslims say, "Oh, you don't speak Arabic," no problem. Read the Arabic. Okay, you don't have to be a rocket science. Like I tell Muslims, yes, I don't know how to speak Arabic, but you know what? I can read. I can see. It ain't the same. Okay, you can follow along. Every single thing here is the same. Everything here, actually, you know what? Let me make this a different color. Let me make this color, make it red. I think I made it this color. Okay. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket science. Wakanati. That's not what it says. Here's the Arabic. Now, I think I only did this for this one. I think I'm not. Nope, I did it for this one too. This was already done, but my problem here is that in this chapter, Lot asks a question. In this chapter, Lot makes a statement. In this chapter, he's not asking his people a question, but then Allah says, "And the answer of his people." I don't see a question here. I do see questions here, so this would be correct. But notice they answered two different things. This one they say expel the family of Lot. This one they say bring us the punishment.
So when you're doing that and you're saying this one, make sure you're saying the Quran chapter, because some
Yeah,
people might
29.
not be listening, they
Yeah,
might not visually be watching.
yeah, I have here. It says if they look at the screen, they can see it's.
So I'm just saying, because if you're listening like I was on a
Oh,
phone
okay.
earlier.
Yeah, the differences between chapter 27 verses 54 to 57 and chapter 29 verses 28 and 29. Now, I didn't do the Arabic, but here is the transliteration. Again, look at the size of the look at how many words you find here versus look at how many words you find here. So you can tell if the size is different, then they're saying other stuff. So my question to Muslims is which one? Which one did the people say to Lot? And also, did Lot ask them a question or did Lot make a statement about what they were doing? And we already did Moses. We did that already.
Wasn't the answer here Allah doesn't know?
I guess Allah doesn't know. And
Well,
we
he's
did
the
this
God of perhaps, though.
Yeah, we did this already. Lot. Yeah, we did
How
this already.
dare you suggest that Allah doesn't know anything?
Yeah. So basically, yeah. So
He's the
that's
one who
Allah
keeps
knows
saying perhaps it's
everything.
not me.
yeah. So basically, that was what I was trying to the incompetence of Allah Muhammad exposed. Yes. Now I didn't even touch the historical errors. I think Eric has done a show on the inaccuracies that you find, like King David having chain link mail, crucifixion during the time of Moses and Joseph, Mary being the daughter of Imran, the sister of Moses, or I'm sorry, the sister of Harun or Aaron. I didn't touch the scientific errors like embryology, cosmology. A doctor, it's to be found in. Oh, that's what I'm missing. Nobody gave me the footnotes, repent. I am missing the footnotes. Maybe I need to go and speak to Ibn Fibin.
Yeah, even if a footnote or
You
ketchup
know?
boy. I
Yeah,
like the
so
word ketchup boy.
so again, I am just using the Quran as my source. I didn't go to the hadiths, I didn't go to the tafsirs. I am just demonstrating using the Quran by itself that, as Yarsakari would say, there are holes in the narrative. I find this to be problematic from a perfect book that is only the speech of Allah, not the speech of people, but the speech of Allah.
Maybe something if they said it was a speech of Muhammad, they could expect mistakes, but the claim that it's a speech of Allah imposes
Makes it
special
even worse.
problems when
So,
there's a lot of errors.
yeah, as I had explained earlier.
It actually requires us to call Allah a fake God.
So it's different when we read in one book in the Tanakh where it says, King such and such became king when he was 20. And then we read in another book where it says, and King such and such was 42 and he reigned. I got no problem with that because, first of all, it's two different people. It could be at two different times, or it could be an explanation, a very plausible explanation. But the problem is that there's no explanation here. There's no legitimate explanation for Allah saying one thing in one story and saying something else in the other story. Which one is it? It's the same story. Andrew, 26:119 is Mo making threats. Let me see.
Yeah, he is. I got it.
Okay.
So we delivered. This is who?
If you want to share the screen, I'll put it up.
So we did. Oh, I don't have it on the screen. So we delivered him and those who were with him in the loaded ship. This is who was the other guy who joins us all the time, and he keeps saying that all these speeches are to get people to go on jihad. And the story of Noah is being shared. You know, he was. I can see where he's saying this. The concept of loaded ship. No room. You either get on or you leave, or you stuck behind and you get killed. I could see that.
All right, let me
I think
see.
Andrew's right.
What did he say? 26,119. Oh, I got
Yeah, he's-
the wrong one.
I think it's humorous. Who's the gentleman who joins us quite a lot, and he's been saying all these speeches.
Oh, Larry. Yeah,
I think Larry's right. You know, I hadn't even thought of it that way, but I think Larry's right, because a lot of this, if you start looking at it from that perspective, you start seeing a little bit. I mean, it shows that Muhammad isn't very good at remembering things too. He doesn't. When you lie, you have a hard time remembering things. The problem is you always get the tale wrong when you lie, because you have to. I mean, you have to have an incredible memory to lie well, and Mo just doesn't have that. Not
okay.
after all his seizures.
I don't see 26,119 as being a threat.
Well, here's where I see it. This is where I'll agree with him. You either get on the ship or you drown. So if you weren't on the ship, see, I think if he's giving a speech to his jihadis, if you're on the ship, great. Okay. If you're not, you're left behind, you're dead. And I think that's kind of the mess. I can see where that can be used. That's where I'm agreeing with
Let me look
yeah,
at the whole
Larry.
passage.
Agreeing with Larry.
Let me look at the whole
That's
passage.
that's where I see Andrew kind of doing that too.
Let me see 116. Oops, 116. Let me see. People see it? Yeah. DQ channel CD earlier verse shared. Okay. Where is that earlier verse? Oh, man, so many people. Earlier verse. 26. Oh, for some strange reason I can't find that earlier verse now.
And you're breaking up a little bit.
It's because my internet's cracking up again. I'm on my secondary laptop, not my. Not that it matters, because I get the same problem. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Yes.
I'm also using an actual mic. Hey.
Yeah, it sounds a lot better.
Oh, great. So I guess I might use it. I also have this little thing where you can. I guess you can
Awesome.
play different things, but I guess you got to listen to the video because I can't hear it. So I
Oh,
don't know if it's working.
yeah, we just said awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you did hear it. Okay, how come
Yeah.
I can't hear it? Then I got this one like.
Pause, yep.
Okay, all right, so it's working. So now we can add some fun to the thing. Actually, what do is the one he sent me this really cool, awesome mic set, and it's got this little board that I don't know how to use. So I'm like, and unfortunately, it didn't come with instructions in the book. So, clapping. Do we have clapping?
You just played it.
Oh, okay. Oh, the cheering.
It was applause.
Okay, awesome.
It's
And we
clapping
got
too.
gunshot. We got gunshot.
Well, that'll go good for
Yeah, with
the
Allahu
wholesome
Akbar.
narrative.
Yeah.
You use some. I can shout Allahu Akbar and you play that.
Okay, so let's look. Unfortunately, Andrew, I don't know which verse you were talking
We're breaking
about.
up again.
I'm breaking up again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just kind of broken. Yeah.
Yeah, my internet's showing no bars. Hey, Ed, how's it going? Okay, so let's see. 2:26:114. And not.
Can't hear you.
What?
You're out.
About.
124.
No, it was 114.
Okay, and not I am the one to drive away the believers, and I am and not I am the one. Wow. Is that word for word?
Yeah, that's the word for word.
And what chapter is this? 26.
Yeah, chapter 26.
I'll pull it out of Osama's. I've got the book in my hand. Just a second. 14. Went by it.
I guess
And they have on me. Wait, this is 2614? 114.
114.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
114. And let's see. And I am not driving away the believers, he put. It actually makes more sense than what they have up there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where the threat. I'm just not really seeing it as a threat, but I mean, it could be.
A thread for,
Like you're saying, like either get in the ship or I'm going to drown you.
well, I'm saying if you look at it this way, it's Muhammad talking to warriors about to go to
Right.
jihad, and that would be the motivation. You could tell them this, and the thought process they should process would be get on the ship, or you're gonna be left behind,
But
and
so
get it.
even if it's talking about Pharaoh, like even before Islam, is can you extract that from? Can you extract like jihad from this? Like I'm not saying you would be wrong. I'm just like because when I read it, I didn't think that this was archaic, like just Muhammad being trying to act like he knows stuff, but he doesn't know anything, right?
Well, he just reveals himself to be such an idiot. I think throughout all of this, if it's Muhammad that's
Yeah,
writing this,
well,
I think whoever's
let's be
writing it
honest, it is
is clueless.
Muhammad. Yeah, yeah. But like, do you think today that people can like view this in that way? Like, because that would be very problematic. Like, I understand that you can do that, but it didn't cross my mind. But yeah, if you can be like, oh, even the pharaohs, even in Pharaoh's time, they will go to jihad, and if they didn't, they then you get drowned. That
I'm
means
only saying the concept of Muhammad motivating his jihadis, not regarding jihad in other times.
no, I get that. It's like never mind.
I think if we look at a lot of I guess I had never looked at it the way that Larry was approaching it. I mean, if we look at some of these, I mean, we look at, I would say everything from Medina. I mean, from the point they go to Medina, because that's when when he leaves Mecca, all of a sudden Islam starts to exist. Supposedly it never existed before. Because when they even put the date on when Islam starts, it's when Muhammad becomes a political leader, which is when after they call it after the Hijrah. And from there, it's all blood and guts. It's nothing peaceful about Islam from that point on.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Just because this is talking about something that happened in the past from Muhammad's perspective. So it would be like if people, it would be just an extra point to justify jihad. You understand? Like
Yes,
this is what I'm worried about.
I look at
Well, the
these as
72
just
virgins would be enough
motivational.
to justify, you know.
I don't think any justification here. I just see it as motivational. You do
Right.
this or else.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, motivational. Yeah. Well, that's the whole problem with Islam, isn't it? It motivates you to do the wrong things. What it didn't motivate you to do is actually reading the Quran.
Yeah.
Doesn't that blow your mind? I mean, this is the one thing I can't get about Islam. Okay, in for Christians and Jews, in order to really proclaim yourself Jewish or to proclaim yourself Christian, you have to read the Bible yourself. Now, in Islam, in order to be a good Muslim, you have to bang your head 5 times a day, and you have to do it such a way. And you're actually following Sharia. You're not following the Quran. You're not following the Hadiths. Just by banging your head on the ground, you are becoming a student of Sharia. Because you know what? That the only place you can find those directions are in Sharia. They're not in the Quran. They're not in the Hadith. Okay. What do you learn about Ramadan? Okay, the things you learn about Ramadan, those rules, they're not in the Sharia. I'm sorry, they're not in the Hadith. They're not in the Quran. They're in Sharia. So a lot of this stuff we have, I would say 80% of all followers of Islam that can't read Arabic, who refuse to read the Quran unless it's in Arabic, and they can't read Arabic, they're just lovers of Sharia. They don't know that. And that's quite a horrible truth.
Right. Okay, Andrew Martin, I'm sure the mushrooms from the camel patties were involved as well. Oh, that's funny. Okay, guys, before my internet goes out, which I don't understand, I want to say thank you. Been an hour and 50 minutes, Paul. I'm glad you could join. If you can make it tonight at 6.
I'll see you at 6.
Okay. Ed, you're welcome. Sam, I'll see you over on Clubhouse. Andrew, thank you for coming. All those that came. I was actually hoping to have Muslims because I opened up a room. I have a room right now opened up on Clubhouse, and it has a link to the show.
Maybe that's why you're breaking up. Because if I closed down the clubhouse when I got here.
Oh, okay. I mean, it could be, but my internet is showing that I've got like no bars. All right, Darcy, good to see you. God bless you. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I'll break it up lots. Okay. You know what, Sam? Let me shut down Club Deck. I don't think that's going to help. But all right. Well, tonight I'll be on my new lappy, so hopefully that works. And so I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Hopefully, Muslims will
I
see this.
think Jibril is squeezing you hard right now.
Yeah, he's squeezing me, man. I can feel I can feel my bowels being squeezed. All right, Sam. I'll see you on Clubhouse. Have a good one, brother.
All right.
And
All right.
let's end the show.